here with an update from all of the big wins this past week by our great Run Pure Sports members and hosts. Huge congrats to Run Pure's very own Kay Fallick on the big 27K day in college football.
Other RPS hosts to ship included Mangone with a 25K hit in NBA and AP, who had a 12K NBA night after calling his shot on our Hardwood show.
The thing about Kuzma, he's 8K now, so I think he's more so a tournament play. I think that price tag is going to keep ownership down, but look to see where kind of the industry average is and then project them up. And then Daniel Gafford, I think, man, if he gets 30 minutes here, I'm going to say it right now, he's getting 40 plus fantasy points easy in this matchup, and I'm on the Wizards side.
But the biggest winners were our members who continue to crush it as we head into the new year.
In NHL, T. Wayrich took home 27K. In NBA, Bobby Hare hit for 12K on DraftKings, while Nick the Stick pulled in 17K.
Our football content is continuing a hot streak by producing winners, and our members are cashing in, including
JManu75, who hit for 10K at Yahoo, and our biggest winner was Russell D, who repped the RPS brand while pulling in 150K in DraftKings Best Ball Millie Tournament.
And speaking of Best Ball Underdog, they are running a bunch of playoff Best Ball tournaments. If you haven't signed up, now is the perfect time to do so. By using offer code RUNPURE, you can get $20 with your first deposit.
We've recently teamed with SaberSim to offer a great deal on a combo subscription where you can access all of our content and their great optimizer and projection system for one low price, which will save you close to $50 monthly.
Head on over to runpuresports.com to get the deals and start running pure with us.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports NBA Hardwood Show. I'm your host, Mangone. I'm here with AP. I'm here with Hoop. We're breaking down some NBA, and it's a nice little 4-game slate. Let's bring in our boy Hoop. How is it going over here? How is your we're on Thursday, so we got the weekend coming up, and how are things going for you?
Oh, well, PJ is back full swing. It's an exciting time. We had, a lot of action going in our Discord channel today, a lot of content that obviously came out the last couple of days. And, it's a sport that Run Pure community has had a lot of success in. So super excited to have PGA back. Got the partnership obviously going with SaberSim right now. And we just had a meeting with them the other day, and some of those changes that I talked about where our content is going to start being displayed right on the SaberSim optimizer. It's coming along nicely. So a lot of good stuff over at Run Pure Sports. We've got this 4-game NBA slate. Got some big news, obviously, with Steph, Draymond out. So it should be a good one, and looking forward to it tonight.
Yeah, I did my first SaberSim run for PGA of the year, right? Or not of the year, just like in general. First time using PGA for that. So enjoyed it. Definitely excited to kind of dive into that deeper as the PGA season goes on. I didn't play too much, you got to, get my feet wet to start out the year. But of course, as it goes on, we'll dive in and, we'll have tons of great content over here at Run Pure Sports. As we get to the PGA season, we hit those majors. I'm sure we'll have those roundtable shows that we do on Wednesday night that are always good times. Sometimes Hoop's asleep for him. Sometimes he makes it to him. AP definitely hangs out in him as well. And that show can go pretty late. So it's just one of the great things that we have over here at Run Pure Sports. If you want to check out all the other stuff, we're going to have a playoff content for the NFL. So that's going to be awesome. And also we got some best ball content. So use that code RunPure over there at Underdog. Get you a nice little bonus over there, and you get in those best ball contests. And there's some strategy to it. And you can definitely talk that strategy in the Discord chat. Listen, if you think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, like AP probably does, he's going to have a nice little Chiefs stack in those best ball contests. Like Hoop, there's no doubt in my mind, if Hoop's doing those best balls, you're going to see Mahomes, Kelsey, and Tyreek Hill there. Am I right, Hoop?
If AP gets into the underdog streets in the NFL best balls for the playoffs, and you want to get Chiefs, make sure you don't get in a draft with AP because you're drawn dead. AP is Chiefs all the way. I can guarantee that.
AP, can we confirm you'd be all on the Chiefs kingdom in your best ball drafts?
Yeah, I mean, you have to, right? I mean, they're going to win the AFC. They're going to make it to the big game. I'm very confident in that. I know Hoop's confident in that too. He was just telling me how he loaded up and fired on the Chiefs, like to win their division, the conference, and Super Bowl when they were like 2-4. So early on in the season when the odds were just.
I need a Chiefs Rams Super Bowl, Chiefs Rams, and I'll be excited.
I want Chiefs Packers. I do have a Rams ticket, but I'm selfish as a Packers fan. I've always wanted a Rodgers Mahomes ever since Mahomes kind of played. I wanted Rodgers Mahomes as like a Super Bowl. So I kind of want that as a fan, and that would be a lot of fun. And if we have Chiefs Packers, me and AP will definitely make a nice little friendly wager on that one for sure. But AP, do you have any bets yet on the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl?
No, I wanted to fire when the odds were better, and I didn't. So it is what it is. Yeah, I might have to fire in the best ball streets though. If I can get some KC stacks, that might be the way to go.
Yeah, we got some time. So since we're talking about firing on some teams to win titles, I took a long shot. It wasn't a lot. I put like $20 on it, but 70-1 to win the NBA title. Memphis Grizzlies. Hoop, thoughts on the Memphis Grizzlies as a 70-1? Again, this isn't a 1-to-1 bet. I mean, it's obviously a super long shot, but I was looking for something deep just to take a shot on. So what do you think about Memphis?
Grizzlies have looked good. I mean, they got a complete roster. I mean, as long as they stop playing freaking Kyle Anderson, I think they got a chance to get in the playoffs and make a little run. I mean, it's been an impressive run. I mean, John Morant was out for a while, and they still played pretty well. So yeah, I like that play for sure. I think it's pretty wide open this year. We're not seeing any like standout superstar stud teams, so I don't hate that at all. But they have to stop playing freaking slow-mo. He sucks.
Yeah, I didn't mind. I saw Nuggets at 30-1, and I was like, Nuggets 30-1 is not the worst too if they can get right. But sometimes you watch these teams all year and you're like, they'll get healthy, they'll get right, and they just never do. So AP, anyone you like for the NBA finals? I know it's obviously super, super far away, but any long shot you like?
I mean, yeah, fun discussion. I just pulled it up just to see, like, 71. I don't mind that at all, especially if John Morant, stays healthy. This dude just looks so good. Obviously, we're going to see him again tonight. I mean, I would like are the Jazz going to do it again? Are they going to have like the best regular season record, and then just suck in the playoffs? Like this team had I don't know what it is, but like Donovan Mitchell maybe just needs to show up and start closing in the playoffs. But the path might be a little bit easier in the West. Like the Lakers really aren't looking that good. It looks like it's the Suns and Warriors and Jazz. So maybe a little value there, but it's tough to tell. I always go back to the Nuggets, but they obviously have to get healthy and need Nikola Jokic to keep crushing. But 30-1, I don't have a problem with that. Or the Bulls 25-1, but still, man, the East is just so brutal. Like it's going to be some tough teams there too. But the Bulls have been playing good.
Yeah, and the one thing about the West, and I was talking to one of my buddies about it, I thought it was a good point, is Chris Paul. He rarely makes it through a playoffs, right? He could break down. Those Warriors, if one of those guys breaks down between Clay, Curry, Draymond, it can get bumpy for them for sure. I like their depth, but it's definitely one of those things where I think it's interesting. And Kevin says I flushed it down the toilet. Kevin, I was on the Suns last year and it worked out for me. I'm going to take some shots here. The Suns treated me very well. I rode them out. They feel like my Memphis Grizzlies feel like my Suns of last year, and even Atlanta. I was high on Atlanta in the East, and I think Memphis is the team that I'm going to be pretty high on once we get to the postseason, and kind of be firing on them when people think they're not as good. But we will see how it all shakes out. But we do have Memphis on this nice little 4-game slate. Hoop, before we dive in, do you have a nice little breakdown on this slate? I think it's interesting. It's not like this clear cut slate. I think the one thing you'll say is, yes, the Warriors are kind of obvious, but you don't have like your LeBron James at the top that you want to go to. I think it's a very interesting slate. And besides the Warriors chalk options, I think you're going to see some interesting ways that you can go on this slate.
Yeah, so obviously we get, Steph and Draymond out, so we're going to have to play some Warriors guys. But, what that also does, it brings the Pelicans into play a little bit. Now we have a pick-em game here. The Pelicans are going to kind of want to come and beat the Warriors tonight, even though that, they're going to be without Steph and Draymond, but beating the Warriors is still beating the Warriors. So the Pelicans are going to come with their A game. Now we have a game that is a pick-em. So, that news brings those guys into play. And then, in terms of the spend, we don't have any of these big name guys. We got Morant, who's been playing well. He's 9-2 on DK. That's a good price tag, but he's 10-2 on FanDuel. Then you got the Boston guys. We don't like playing Boston when they're at at or close to full strength. Well, they're pretty much at full strength now. If Julius Randle on slate, so it's lacking a standout stud. We don't have a Harden to go to. We don't have a Jokic to go to. Makes it interesting. But overall, I think it's a solid slate. There is a lot of different ways to go outside of the obvious Warriors situation that we have tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting slate. Let's dive in, though. Let's talk about it. And first game up, we got the Boston Celtics and the Knicks, where, man, so I'm a Celtics fan. I put some money on the Celtics tonight. I thought they were a good bet here. I'm curious to get your guys' perspective from a betting wise, because I think the Celtics, they haven't had Brown and Tatum all year really together. They've had, one or the other, and a couple spots they've had them, and they took a tough loss yesterday against San Antonio. I expect a nice little bounce back for them here against the Knicks, and the Knicks don't really have Kemba Walker, Derrick Rose. It feels like that having Alec Burks, Fournier, Barrett, Randall, it's just not a great group. And I feel like the Celtics team should be able to do really well. And if they do well, I think one of these studs gets there between Brown and Tatum. I'm currently leaning Brown because it is nice to get him at that small forward shooting guard eligibility so I can mix him out throughout my lineups. I don't have to be restricted to one position. And he's 9K, which is less. And Tatum just came back. And when Tatum, he's back, he's going to have to get into a bit of a groove, shot for 6 for 20. But sometimes you kind of see these alpha players, they kind of ride out a nice little streak. And I think you could see Jaylen Brown do pretty well here. So AP, I'll start it off with you first. What are you doing with these Celtics studs? Because I think they're really interesting differentiation plays at the top. And then what are you doing on the Knicks side with a guy like Julius Randle, who should see a lot of usage his way, but he does have a guy like Robert Williams down low to kind of protect the paint a bit. That could cause some problems.
Yeah, I like this rotation that Boston is running out with Marcus Smart, running point with Jaylen Brown out there too. Obviously the ball is going to be in his hand with Tatum, and then Horford and Bob Williams. I don't like the matchup against the Knicks, just, slower paced team, defensive minded, even though like against the Pacers the other night, they, in my opinion, played really bad defense, but they still just kind of took the air out of the ball and just, played slow. So like, not like a spot I love, but Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, these guys can definitely get there. And like Hoop said, on a slate that lacks studs, spend up options that are truly elite, maybe outside of John Morant, you kind of get sucked into some of these guys. And then we got on the other side too, Julius Randle finally showed some upside. It'd been it forever. And then finally he gets going with 59 DK points there against Indiana. So, I mean, I'm really torn on the spot. Like this Warriors spot's it definitely going to suck me in. I think this game is going to go a little bit lower owned, and you might want a piece from here. So I kind of agree with you. If you want an upside piece, I'm looking at Jaylen Brown. I don't know if I want to get Tatum. I do think Tatum's going to be really low owned. So if you're multi-entering, I think you might want some exposure there to him, because we know he always has the ability to break a slate, and it's a 4-game slate. If any of these studs put up like 58 to 60 DK points, which we know Tatum is able to do, you're going to want them on your team to take down tournaments. I don't think this is going to be a slate where a stud does it. Actually, I think like John Morant, if anyone, might be the guy to do that. And so I'm probably going to end up being a little bit lower on the Celtics side here. Mild interest on Jaylen Brown. And then on the Knicks, I got to touch on them real quick. Alec Burks starting has not been good. You can just go and look at the metrics. He's been much better off the bench. However, 5'9", he's under 6. Like, he's going to get a ton of minutes. He's definitely going to be in consideration for me. I missed the RJ Barrett game. I think he was 5'7" last game. I looked at him. I even bumped him up in the opto, and I still did not get him into any lineups. And he was like 2 or 3% owned. Now he's going to be 25 to 30% owned. I'm going to sell high on him, even though I wasn't on him, so I'm not really selling anything. But I'm probably just going to avoid him again today and hope that he doesn't blow up.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with RJ Barrett. I think he's a good play, and I think he's a guy that you can maybe give a nice little bump in projections to, but I don't want to force him in there. He is still 6K, right? He's not like this guy that's at like 4 or 5, where if he gets you 20, you can kind of get away with it. Like, he does have to put up a decent score for you there. So it's definitely something to think about. Hoop, what's your perspective on this game? Because this is not the sexiest game on the slate. And I agree with what AP said. Like, Tatum's definitely not going to be owned. And I think he's someone I'm going to consider today, just because if you tell me I can get a star on a 4-game slate at like 5%, like it's definitely something you have to think about. And I think there's other stars. Like, I agree. John Morant's definitely someone I'm going to consider on this slate. And I think is a really good option. We need some of that Memphis news. I think that's going to be really valuable and important. And hopefully we'll get that soon. But what do you want to do with this Celtics and Knicks game? Because I think it's a very under-owned game on this slate. And I think there's opportunity here to take chances on some of these guys and gain an edge early on.
Yeah, so I mean, if this game falls on a 10-game slate, we're crossing it off and we're moving on. We're not really going to be playing anyone from this game. Now we're on a 4-game slate where we can't necessarily cross games off, so we have to come here and we have to look at some of these pieces. Boston side for me is a little more difficult because, like I said, when they're at full strength, we really don't like rostering them. We like Robert Williams when Al Horford's out and vice versa. We like Horford when Robert Williams is out. We like Tatum and Brown when one of the others out. They're both in tonight. Marcus Smart's a better play when Schroeder's out and Josh Richardson. All these guys are in. So the one I think I like the most would be Tatum, but I'm just not paying 10-2 for Tatum in the spots, the lowest total on the slate. More in play on FanDuel where he's like 9.8K. My rule for like Robert Williams and Horford is I really haven't played these guys when they're both in the lineup. They're both in the lineup tonight. So the Boston side's tough for me. One of my least favorite teams on the slate. The Knicks side, though, I do have some interest. Like, Burks, 5.9K, 6K on FanDuel. He played 35 minutes last game. You know what you get with him. He's going to be chucking out there. I mean, he got 33 fantasy points. Not good for the team, obviously. He's one of those guys that doesn't make anyone better. But, you get Burks, going to play mid-30s in terms of minutes. We have a close spread. Can definitely play him. RJ Barrett, I think, is in play again. He's been playing solid basketball. I mean, I've played him a little bit here during this run. And, again, in a close game, he's playing upper 30s minutes. And on a 4-game slate, that goes a long way. Julius Randle, 10K price tag on DKs, 9K on FanDuel, so better play over there. But again, a guy that we can consider tonight, probably more on FanDuel. That's probably where I draw the line here. Burks, Barrett, Randle, probably in that order too. Burks is my preference on the Knicks side, and then on the Boston side, probably my least when I'm going through this. Yeah, definitely my least favorite team on the slate. Maybe a little bit of Tatum.
I mean, this is definitely not going to be a game like that. If you load up on, like, you're going to already be different. And maybe it is a Big T 7-7-7 night, right? Maybe he comes out and he's on him. This game does start at 7:30. So we got the pushback lock time, but I do think it's a game that maybe if you do think it's going to be a good one, like play, maybe not game stack it, but I think on these 4-game slates, and AP, I'll get your perspective on this. Sometimes I think condensing on a game is not a bad idea on a 4-game slate, because if one game blows out, well, everyone loses the rotation of those guys. And I think one thing that I've been trying to do a little bit better is maybe just not be like, oh, let me get a piece of this and a piece of that. I think sometimes that's a mistake to do on these 4-game slates. If you're going to play maybe one Celtic on one side and then a Knick on another, would you just kind of maybe go 4 and just kind of hope the game shoots out a bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be team by team and situation by situation. I think, and then price obviously comes into play. I get what you're saying. And on a 4-game slate, I do think that type of strategy in tournaments could be very valuable, but it really is going to, depend on pricing and pace of play, matchup, all that stuff. I don't think this is the spot, but yeah, if the game goes into triple overtime, which we saw in the first game of the year when these two teams played, then yeah, I mean, it's going to crush. But I'm not doing that here. I do think this is probably one of the easier games to fade. And I know we're not crossing off a game on a 4-game slate, but we have some really tasty spots actually. And I think a nice bounce back spot with the Clippers here coming off a blowout loss against the Wolves. Going against a Suns team. I think there's better ways to get different with a stack like that. Just betting on a game to stay close, where Vegas thinks, blowout is somewhat of a high probability.
All right. Yeah. I mean, definitely interesting. And I don't think it's necessarily just this game, but I think in general, you can do that. And I just was thinking, in the Big T, he always sometimes hops out in front with one team, and it's always interesting to see. And I feel like a lot of his nice hits have been that way. So it's something I've thought about for sure. Let's dive in and talk about the Pistons and the Grizzlies. And AP, I'll go right back to you because I want to find out if this is one of the spots maybe we can take advantage of. I mean, we have Bane. He is doubtful right now. And I know Dylan Brooks is questionable. And we have some other guys that might be back too on the Grizzlies. And the thing that I'm really keying in on with the Grizzlies side of the ball is I want to know what ball handlers are going to be back on the Grizzlies. Because if they don't have enough ball handlers back, I think I'm going to have a lot of interest in John Morant. If they have like a guy like a Melton back and some more ball handlers, that's going to have me concerned, especially with that blowout lurking, because easily I could see Memphis blow this team out. And I wouldn't be shocked if they're up a ton and then they just kind of don't play that fourth quarter rotation and they let some of those other bench guys get the job done. Because as Hoop said before, Memphis has a pretty strong team. When they didn't have John Morant, they were able to play without him. And I'm sure the coach is going to be happy with, hey, I can give Ja a rest finally. I mean, he got that Western Conference Player of the Week. He absolutely crushed it. He's played like 33 minutes a night since basically Christmas. I mean, he's been playing a ton. So it would not surprise me if they blow him out. You could lose that fourth quarter rotation. But when you do get the blowout, Ja could be part of it. It just depends on like the slate and how many raw points he gets versus the other stars. But what do you want to do with this Memphis team with some of the news that we're waiting on here, AP? And then, man, you can try and talk me into some Detroit guys, but good luck with that.
Yeah, Desmond Bane, Kyle Anderson, Slow-Mo, doubtful. So I'm working under the assumption that they miss. I mean, when these guys are doubtful, it's like 99.9% of the time that they're not playing. So I often just like list them as out anyway and change it if it needs to be changed. But the ones to keep an eye on, Dylan Brooks and DeAnthony Melton. So both questionable. Seems likely that they play, but if they get ruled out, like here's the other thing too. I thought one of Whiteside or Gobert would play last night. I'm like, no way, both of them missed. Both of them missed. And I didn't have enough, I had some late swaps I could do, but not in my main squad. So there were some moves that I couldn't make. So here, if Brooks and Melton, and it's not going to be a problem since this game starts 30 minutes after the first game of the slate. So it's not going to be a problem at all. But if Brooks and Melton are out, then yeah, I don't care what the spread is. The Grizzlies are going to be an absolute smash spot. Ja's going to be a lock. You're going to want Jaren Jackson. You're going to want Brandon Clark. Like you're going to, you're going to want exposure to these guys, even Tyus Jones. But if we think Brooks and Melton play, we got to, keep an eye on any restrictions. So the guy I have, and then if you're playing, so I'm playing this a couple different ways. The game stays moderately close. We play Ja. We play the starters here. The other way to play it, I think, with this Grizzlies team, with how strong their second unit is, and mainly if Melton plays and then Brandon Clark in there as well, working under the assumption that this second unit is playing well, we've seen Jenkins, extend their minutes. And so what you could do is play those two guys and then go elsewhere with your stacks, banking on that second unit getting a little bit more run. So there's ways I'm getting different on a 4-game slate like that, kind of playing game script. And the Grizzlies are a team that you can do that with because their rotations are highly volatile. We see it all the time. Like these guys outside of John Morant, these guys, their rotations are volatile. And with Jaren Jackson, a lot of it comes down to fouls. I mean, the guy is often in foul trouble, but really lead spot here. Ja, I'm not too worried about blowout affecting his minutes just because he's 9-2 and gosh, he's going to get the work done. As far as run backs go, I mean, Cade, I think is fine, but I'm like, I think, Hoopster, I might just under project the Pistons. We've seen them roll out these funky rotations. They're trying to give Josh Jackson, of all guys, more minutes right now. And he's been hitting his shots. So, I mean, that they're going to, Dwayne Casey's going to just licking his chops to get Josh Jackson out there. Not saying I'm playing him. I'm just saying that I don't trust this rotation at all.
Yeah. So we obviously got to go to our Pistons expert, right? I gotta
come on, boys, bring it on.
Prop that up properly. Our Detroit Pistons expert over here. He knows all things Detroit sports, right? He knows it all.
Yeah, everything.
It's
a great sports town. Great sports town.
Great.
Come join us.
Great sports town. So let's talk about these Pistons. What are you doing with them? And then talk about Ja, because I think the big thing with Ja is I agree with a lot of what AP's saying. My big thing is if they have more ball handlers in, I think there's more reason to maybe move off Ja than I think people realize. I think there's a lot more risk that can come to the situation. He's also going to be the highest owned stud on the slate, I think. I think everyone's just going to gravitate towards him. And it's like, yeah, sure. We've seen it this week. Everyone says, oh, there's no way Ja can't crush the Pistons. Well, there was no way LeBron couldn't crush the other night. There was no way that James Harden could not crush the other night. And it's like, yes, those things can happen. So
yeah.
I think Ja's a good play, but I also want to see, I think the ball handlers is really key for me. And then I don't know how you're going to talk me into any Pistons today.
Yeah, I mean, on the Pistons side, it's pretty simple. I mean, we got a shitty team and an unpredictable rotation. That's just like a killer combination for DFS. They're getting guys back. I mean, they're super thin for a while, but now all these guys are coming back. They have elevated price tags. It's just not a fantasy-friendly environment. The one thing I will say, though, Cade Cunningham is 6.8K on FanDuel. I think he's a really strong play on FanDuel. The 7.9 on DK, not so much, but he is underpriced on FanDuel. I think he's a very strong play at that price point. But for the rest of these guys, there's still, Diallo, Bay been going off, but I'm not paying those price tags with Cade back. So just Cade on FanDuel. Now the Grizzlies situation is the interesting one, and it could get even better too. You have Melton questionable and Dillon Brooks questionable. This game is 30 minutes after lock, so we probably will have the news, but there's a chance that this team is pretty thin. And yeah, Morant stands out as the clear guy to kind of spend up for on the slate. He's only 9.2 on DK. He's 10.2 on FanDuel, so better DK price tag. Jaren Jackson, 6'1" on DK, 6'6" on FanDuel, good price tags there. Steven Adams as well, mid-5s on both. But if like a guy like Melton's out, you can go to Tyus Jones. Brandon Clark's going to get some run here. This is a good team to look to tonight. And it's a cupcake matchup. They'll be able to get whatever they want against the Pistons. And the hope is the Pistons do enough to keep it somewhat competitive so these guys can get their full allotment of run. It's a good situation that could potentially get better depending on how this news breaks. But we already know we have some guys out. Desmond Bane has been one of their better scorers all season. He's doubtful, or like AP said, when someone's listed doubtful, they're 90-some% chance of being out. You just assume they're out. But we're going to get this news regardless. It's a good situation, and it could potentially get even better.
Could get better. Do you think it could get worse the other way? Because that's one thing I'm balancing a little bit. Because I think everyone thinks that Desmond Bane if you replace Dillon Brooks for Desmond Bane, they think they're the same player. But I kind of think Dillon Brooks is more of a usage guy than a Desmond Bane is. And that's something I'm at least thinking about when trying to figure out what to do with Ja here. Do you because if Melton's in, I think that's going to have me way more worried, I think, than others, because it just adds another ball handler. At least that's what I see on the situation. Do you agree or disagree?
See, the problem I have, if we're talking like a 10-game slate, I'd be looking at that stuff a little bit more. We have a 4-game slate. I just feel like we can't really be that picky with like no studs to pay for. And I get it. He is probably going to be the highest owned. So if you're looking for a reason to get off him and go to somebody else, that could be the tiebreaker. But in regards to just whether or not he's a good play, like you can't really factor that in on a 4-game slate, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking about it for sure, because it's tough. And I mean, there's good guards on the slate, and like we'll get to it, but Chris Paul's price, I mean, that's great. And like I think Devin Booker's price is good, and you could do a little game stack, just like load the boat on those guys and then run back some Clippers. I think that's certainly in play. Guys, we got 465 watching, 121 likes. So let's get those likes up. Hoop, we got 2 more games. What's the number we should pick here? We're about like halfway through the show. So what are we thinking?
250. So we'll probably get over the 500 watching. So let's get 250 likes, get to the plays of the day, get the winners at the end. Hey, and I just gave you a bonus one because I just realized I didn't hit the like. So we're at 122 now. So let's go.
There you go. Hoops pushing it home. AP, did you get the like button in to start out the show already?
Yeah, I always go and do that. Get on the burner, get on all the accounts. So yeah, I'm accounted for like 3 already. So let's go.
Nice. You got all your burners in there. I'll get on my burner and I'll start talking some trash too while I'm at it in the chat. I'll have some good times.
I actually don't have any burners, but I have like 4 email addresses just from all the different stuff. Like I'm sure everyone does.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. Hopefully Simon has hit it on the back end on all his burners as well. So we appreciate that, and subscribe to the channel too. The channel, all the content that we have over here at Run Pure Sports. And speaking of all the content
Simon's running and hiding right now. These are the conversations that tilt Simon beyond belief. He does not like these conversations. He fears the banning on YouTube. We are joking, obviously, about the we just got the message from we are joking. If any YouTube executives are watching it, that's a joke. So we're not promoting multiple accounts.
Correct. All the jokes here, just having a good time over here at Run Pure Sports. But I was going to say, we have MMA back this week, but we don't have it back this week, but we do have MMA content normally. Starts up on the 15th. So yeah, be sure to check out that. Like I said, we have everything going on. And one other piece of content that we'll have, which should be pretty big, right? I mean, I'm looking at it now. College football. We'll have a showdown playbook for the big national championship, which should be a lot of fun. Georgia versus Bama. Nice little 100K to first showdown. Hoop, you've gotten, you've seen Big T have a lot of success this year, and you're like, I want to crush in showdown even more. So I feel like you've done very well. Are you going to dip your toes in some college football showdown, which is not something you typically do?
Typically don't, but with the content we have here at Run Pure Sports, I mean, that's going to tilt me in the other direction this time around. I'm definitely getting into that Showdown National Championship. Slater boy Bruce, along with many others on our team, have crushed college football content all season long. So just based on the content we have here, yes, I'm going to be playing. I know absolutely nothing about college football. I don't know any of the players. I have no clue what I'm looking for, but I trust our boy Bruce. So I'm riding with Bruce for the national championship game here.
Yeah, you know what I'm doing tonight? I'm riding with Matty Ice because I got some hockey tickets. I won some monster tickets on FanDuel, so I have to make 2 teams for NHL. Matty said the cores would be up, I think, in a little or around this time, so I need to go and look at that right when I get off the show, make sure I get my NHL stuff buttoned up, and that's what's great about Run Pure. You have the opportunity to, if you don't know as much about a sport, get in there and do your best to kind of get the job done, use the content, and kind of use your process and make some nice teams. So hopefully I can have a nice ship in the NHL streets tonight. Let's move on over though. Let's talk about the next game. And man, it's been tough here these first 2, but it starts to get a little bit easier because Steph Curry decided to sit, Draymond Green is out, and Juan Toscano-Anderson is sitting. And we got a Warriors team that, yeah, they have Andrew Wiggins, but I'm not scared of Andrew Wiggins. They got Jordan Poole, Peyton, Porter, Kevon Looney. I mean, this is going to be a very shorthanded squad, and I don't know how, but they are road favorites here in this spot, which I honestly think is just wrong. I don't understand that. I think people don't realize that it's not a G League roster, but it's pretty bad. And I think people forget when Steph Curry makes a bucket. Well, what happens when he makes a bucket? You can get back on defense very easily. When those shots are missed and when Andrew Wiggins has a 30% usage rate and his average fantasy point per minute when you take all those guys off the court is 0.8, that means Wiggins is chucking up some horrible shots and doing a horrible job ball handling. And that leads to easy buckets on the opposite end. And I think some of these Pelicans projections aren't as correct as they should be. I think you could bump some of these guys up because it's thinking it's this great Warriors defense, and it's not. I think the Pelicans win outright. I also think the Pelicans are really interesting in DFS. Like, I think that Valanciunas at 8-8 is a really interesting spend up option that has a massive ceiling. I think Herb Jones is going to have a lot of opportunity in transition. I think you're going to see him get some opportunity maybe on Wiggins, like him and Josh Hart. I think Hart's another good one where with these lineups that you're going to see with the Warriors that can get small sometimes, I think Josh Hart could have a really nice night on the rebounds and get a double-double. I just think this is a really interesting spot for the Pelicans that we can take advantage of. AP, I'll go to you. Are you interested in the Pelicans like I am? And of course, I know you're interested in some of these Warriors values. So break that down for me.
Yeah, on the Pelicans side, I'm definitely interested in Brandon Ingram. He was priced like 9.6K against the Suns, and now he's 8-1 and 7-9 on FanDuel. So yeah, ton of interest in him and Josh Hart, both guys playing a lot of minutes. I think I'm going to continue to avoid Valanciunas. This Warriors team, 1, Kevon Looney, like not a bad defender, but 2, like they're likely to go small here. They can mix in, Damian Lee or Iguodala or a bunch of these guys, and it's just, yeah. Man, I don't know. They've just been so good against opposing bigs, but the more I think about it, I might end up talking myself onto Valanciunas, pull a Big T, full on, like fade him and then turn around and play him. But no, I do think Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram are going to be the guys that I'm focused on the Pelicans side. They are healthy, which is somewhat of concern, but Hart and Ingram are the guys that you have to think that they're going to get all the run here. I don't know, man, going like this Warriors team, you forget, like they got the good mojo going. Like it hasn't mattered. I mean, Draymond, if anything, he's mattered being out more than Curry, like that I've seen, at least defensively, getting everyone set up. But Otto Porter's in. He's been huge in these spots. Wiggins has looked good. And then honestly, like Jordan Poole has been, better than Steph Curry of late. Like Curry just hasn't looked as good. Probably for like the last month, ever since he was like trying for that record, or ever since he like broke that record, it seems like he's just been a little bit off. And this team is just playing good basketball. Damian Lee could get into the rotation. He's always a good role player. So I think, like, long story short, like, I think this is going to be a really competitive game. I think it's going to stay close and come down and be close down the stretch. So tons of interest here in Poole, Wiggins, Otto Porter. And then obviously Gary Payton's been playing good basketball too. I think you're fine sticking with those guys. Run it back with like Brandon Hart. A fine way to play this game. Like 3 or 4 Warriors pieces, run it back with 1 Pelicans piece is, an interesting way. And I wouldn't be like, would you guys be surprised if we saw 4 of these Warriors guys hit value? Like, the one thing about, like, my final thoughts here is, like, the Warriors are a team where we've seen Kerr roll out these deep rotations. I don't think they're going to be able to today. Like, I think Wiggins, Poole, Otto Porter, and even Gary Payton are going to have to play heavy minutes here. Like, they can't go deep into their bench because they don't have anyone else. So these guys should get big minutes, and I think they're smash plays.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're really good plays for sure. I think some of these Warriors will definitely get the job done. I'm definitely going to look at them, and they're the best values, it feels like, on the slate. At least if you had to pick one team, what's the best team with for value? It's the Warriors for sure. I do kind of disagree with you a little bit. I do agree on, like, Draymond matters a ton, but I also think the loss of Curry, like, it's just when he's able to obviously be there, that takes some pressure off of, like, a guy like a Jordan Poole, where you can have a little bit of an easier time. And I think that could hurt. And I don't know, maybe I end up being wrong on it. I mean, the Pelicans, they can be an absolute disaster. I mean, when they had Curry and Draymond in, I looked it up, they lost by like 40, which is like an insane amount, but like, they are not that great of a team. But I think Herb Jones being back helped them out a ton defensively and just kind of got their rotation a little bit right. And they got Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Someone in the chat mentioned him at 3.9, and we know what his upside could be. So I think there's a lot of really interesting plays in this game, and people are talking about the game stack as a possibility. Hoop, is the game stack a possibility for you? Obviously, I know you like some of these Warriors values, and you're good at identifying value. So I want to get your take on that. And I want to get your take on some of these Pelicans here, and if we can mix and match them throughout our lineups.
Yeah, I'm trying to fire your bet here. I like that Pelicans call. Like, man, if the Pelicans can't beat the Warriors in this spot at home, like, it's going to be, I mean, it is already going to be a long season for them, but this is like should be a layup. So I'm going to join you and fire on the Pelicans. In terms of DFS, like, yeah, I mean, you're going to have to load up on these Warriors guys. They're projected to score 106 points without all their main guys. Poole, Wiggins, Payton, Porter Jr., Looney, Bielitsa, in deep tournament stuff, Damian Lee, this Kuminga guy gets run when everyone's out. So there's 7 guys you can play here on the Warriors side. My favorite would be Poole, obviously. After that, probably Wiggins. I like Wiggins here, and I know the numbers haven't been great when those other guys are out, but he's actually looked pretty good lately, and he's kind of a hot and cold type player. And when he's playing well, he typically goes on streaks. He's playing well right now, so I actually do like Wiggins quite a bit. Porter Jr. has stepped up in these spots. He'd be the next guy. Gary Payton as well. And then the rest are, a little more risky, but definitely in play. On the Pelican side, though, we're starting to see a more consolidated rotation here, and it's going to bring all these guys in play. We have a close spread. Like we said, Brandon Ingram is kind of the interesting one, getting the minutes now back into the mid 30s. But the problem with him is the shot's not falling. 3 for 18, 5 for 18. The peripherals are still there for the most part. He's going to shoot better than that long term, obviously, 3 for 18 and 5 for 18. As long as the shot can get falling, I think he has a chance at a big game here. Valanciunas, better price on FanDuel. He's 8.8 on DK, 7.9 on FanDuel. I think he's in play on both sites. And then you got Josh Hart, Devontae Graham, I think are both guys that are in play here. I mean, Devontae Graham is 5.9K coming off a big game. He's going to play low 30s in terms of minutes, the same as Hart. Hart 37 minutes. He's been playing really well. So I like these Pelicans guys. We're going to be playing Warriors, so we should have some interest in the Pelicans here. And it's pretty clear they're starting to run a tighter rotation. The guys to target, and you can kind of just fire away. And even Herb Jones is playing a lot of minutes, 34 last game, 30, 35. Tighter rotations, very good for DFS purposes. So this is the premier DFS game on the slate. A lot of different ways to go. I'd say probably 10, 11 guys that you can consider here.
Yeah, I'm definitely a Herb Jones guy. He treated me well, and I think he's pretty valuable to like a team. At least this Pelicans team, I think he helps them a lot. And I hope we're getting all the Jazz news.
What's the line? Like, I'm really curious. Has it, like, are the Warriors really favorites?
They are.
Now the Pelicans are favored by one. It flipped, but it's still basically the same thing.
I don't disagree with you guys often, like often at all. I'm usually on the same page. I think the Warriors get it done here. Like they still got Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, Otto Porter. Like the Pelicans suck, man. Devontae Graham. I'm a Kansas guy. Rock Chalk. He sucks. Like this dude is not good at basketball, in my opinion. Josh Hart's like their best player right now. Sure, Ingram is like their stud, their franchise guy, but Josh Hart's the one playing the best basketball. Either way, I think it's close. I think it's a close game, and obviously there's value in the Pelicans. Like if they can't get it done, it's just embarrassing. But I wouldn't be surprised the scrappy Warriors team keeping it close.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. It'll definitely be really interesting. And Hoop, we got the Jazz news. I mean, all these guys are going to be out for tomorrow. So that's, man, we got Conley already out. We got Mitchell out. Rudy Gobert has entered the health and safety protocols. I mean, all these guys. I mean, it's going to be. Who
was saying that the other day? Like, COVID started with the Jazz, and now it's ending with the Jazz. Aren't they the last team? Who was that? I just went across my phone. Rudy Gobert entered.
I think it was on the Tuesday show we were talking about that, and that was definitely the case. Because
I think I brought it up, or we were talking about it, and that's how it kind of conversation.
Hopefully, this is it. That would be nice, right?
It would be nice if that's how it goes. It starts and ends with Rudy Gobert. That would be really funny to see.
COVID is over.
What?
Simon's going to hate all the stuff we're saying. Now YouTube's going to shut us down.
Yeah, they definitely will. And so the Jazz play. Who do they play tomorrow? The Raptors. And then we got them on Saturday as well against Indiana. And then they got Detroit. So man, it's going to be the next 3 to 4 days. You get Jazz slate. So that'll be very.
We're going to get Rudy Gay like 8K here pretty soon.
I think he's questionable too.
Oh, is he really?
Everyone is. It's like absurd. It's and Whiteside's concussion. The funny thing about that, and I know it's like off topic of the slate that we're talking about, but Whiteside, he had a setback on the concussion, right? They said he was fine to play, and then they just said he came and he had more concussion symptoms. So it's like, who knows if he'll be able to get out of that. So it's a disaster there for the Jazz. But hopefully we don't have to have too much of the health and safety protocols going forward. Don't got too much else really to say about that Pelicans game. We have some disagreement, which is always good. We don't have to agree on everything, as we like to say. People want us to have the same exact core plays and play all the same plays together. It's okay to disagree on stuff, and that's perfectly fine. Should be fun to watch this game and see how it all shakes out. Again, we got 536 watching, 225 likes, so you're doing a good job. We need 25 more likes to get to the numbers, so we give out those plays of the day for the people. And we got, we're almost at an hour. We got like 15 minutes or so left. So we'll do our best to talk about this next game. And AP, I'm going to kick it off with you because it sounds like you like this game a lot. And I think there are some good spots here. Chris Paul at 7-3, and it still feels too cheap. Devin Booker at 8-7 feels pricey, but I still think he's actually a pretty strong play and has a lot of upside here at that 8.7K price tag. You got Mikal Bridges, who he's been okay, but it looks like he's bounced back a little bit. He's someone I'm kind of looking at. Cam Johnson, I like that he can mix and match throughout a lot of different lineups. I think there's a ton of ways for him to get there. Jalen Smith, he had his struggles, but Bismack Biyombo is there. And now we have to kind of debate, well, is it going to be Jalen? Is Bismack going to take his spot? I mean, the Suns are thin, and I think there's a lot of opportunity here for these guys. And if the Clippers can keep it close, I think Marcus Morris is going to be a big reason why, because he's going to chuck up some shots. And of course, this is a revenge game for him. I mean, I think both those guys were on the Suns at one point, and like, regardless, like those dudes, they're like best friends. I mean, those twins, they got the same bank account. They got the same tattoo. I mean, if you mess with one Morris, you mess with the other. So I think that you're going to see a little bit of a nice revenge from our boy Marcus Morris here. And I like the spot for him. So AP, break it down for me, this Clippers and Suns game, because it sounded like you had a lot of interest in loading up on this one.
Yeah, I mean, the largest total on the slate, we're going to get condensed rotations on both sides due to injuries. And it's one of those spots where people look at the Clippers and they're going to say, damn, they just got blown out by the Timberwolves. And it was just a disaster of a game. They couldn't hit a shot at all. And, it got out of hand. And it's really rare for a team like these NBA teams, if they have relevant players in there, to get blown out in a big fashion, like in back-to-back games. So I'm betting on the Clippers keeping this within striking distance against a relatively shorthanded Suns team, but still the Suns have all their key pieces: Booker, Paul, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, just those guys playing so good right now. But yeah, I agree with you. So if the Clippers keep it close, pace should be good here. I think all of these guys in a close game are underpriced. Like Marcus Morris, 5'6", he can get us 38, 40. Like Reggie Jackson. Like, let's just say Reggie Jackson was coming off a decent game in a spot where he was going to start, no Paul George, and like earlier spots in the season, he would be one of the most popular plays on the slate. I'm showing somewhat lower ownership, which I think is a function of the Warriors players too, and some of the other value-ish plays that we have on the slate. So I really like this game as a later stack. I'm not saying like full game stack. I'm just saying, there's a few ways you run it. Like you could get Booker in there. You could get a couple pieces from the Suns, run it back with Marcus Morris, run it back with maybe a Terrence Mann or Reggie Jackson. I think that's one way to do it. On the Suns side, to be a little bit more specific, what I want to do is get either Chris Paul or Devin Booker, and I want to pair them with Mikal Bridges. I think Mikal Bridges is going to be in tournaments, is going to be the piece that gets forgotten here. We've seen in this tighter rotation, he's been a guy that they rely on to get some buckets. He's shooting the ball really well. And Chris Paul, like if he hits a few of those first two shots, he's going to look his way. And so I really like a 4.9K Mikal Bridges, low offensive usage guy, mainly a 3-and-D type player, but man, he could definitely get it going here and be a difference maker in tournaments. And he's going to play 40 minutes. You might tilt the first half, but at least he's going to get that full run. That's one way I like to play it. And then, on the Clippers side, it's Reggie Jackson, it's Marcus Morris. I'm not really an Eric Bledsoe guy. He's shown random upside. I'm never on the right side of him, so I'll probably be off of him. And then Ibaka, he hasn't been getting it done for me either. So the Clipper side is a little bit dicier outside of Reggie, Terrence Mann, and Marcus Morris as far as rotations go. And so that's probably who I'll be targeting. I definitely feel much stronger and better about the Suns side. I mean, those guys are going to get minutes. The opportunity is going to be there. So I think it's a good game to target tonight.
Yeah, it definitely seems like an interesting game to target. Ty Lue has been going deeper into those rotations, and you guys are both dads, and you'll stay up for games, but I want to remind you, the Clippers, don't go to sleep early tonight. The Clippers can sometimes do late scratches. So if you're a dad and you got an early morning tomorrow with the kids, you might need to just make sure to stay up just in case there's a random late scratch. Hoop, I mean, we've been doing this for so long. Ty Lue will mess with stuff. I think it's definitely a point to make. Set an alarm to make sure to check. If you're 10 o'clock Eastern, check it like 9:50. Make sure everything is buttoned up there with the situation. Make sure to get in that Discord chat and get those alerts in there and get the right 2v2s and 3v3s in if there's any news that breaks. Because, hey, the Clippers, they will definitely mess with stuff. And Hoop, I know you love some revenge games, but we got plenty here. I mean, we got the Morris one. We got an Eric Bledsoe revenge game. He did not want to be there. So, of course, maybe he'll fire. We got Chris Paul. He was a Clipper back in the day with Lob City. So all the revenge there that you can take advantage of, Hoop. What are you doing with this game?
Yeah, tons of narratives. I mean, you got to be peeling to this one. I mean, it's a Mangone masterpiece right here. In terms of the Clippers side, Ty Lue's turned into a not very fantasy-friendly coach. I mean, yeah, we got the late scratch stuff that you talked about. But on top of that, he's willing to pull the plug on the starters relatively early if they're not playing good. We saw it last game that he took the starters out, I think, like 4 or 5 minutes into the second half, and then they're just done for the game. Yes, they were playing like shit, don't get me wrong, but it's pretty early. Most coaches give these guys a little more leash. He's done it a few times this season, so it makes it somewhat risky, but it's a 4-game slate. We have guys we need to consider. My favorite would probably be Marcus Morris. I just think he's their best chance at scoring the basketball. Terrence Mann, I think, is in play here. Serge Ibaka actually looked pretty good in that game against Minnesota. Only played 19 minutes, got 25 fantasy points, obviously missed a rotation. Reggie Jackson's under 6K on FanDuel. Eric Bledsoe's under 6K on both sites. These guys, to me, are lineup fillers, not core plays, not building blocks, just lineup fillers. If you land on them, it's fine. I'm not messing with the rest of my lineup, but I'm not building around them. It can be said for all the Clippers guys. On the Suns side, though, there's some priorities here. And Chris Paul at 7.3 on DK, that's a really good price tag. I think Devin Booker's a fine spend. I'm hoping, Mangone, please just go to me first for the plays of the day. Okay, that's all I'm saying, because me and AP have a common guy that we really like in this game, and I want the first crack at him. All right, he was the play of the day, huh?
Mikal?
He was the play of the day on
Mikal Bridges?
Maybe. We'll have to see. He was the play of the day on what day was that? Monday or Tuesday. He treated us well. 40 minutes, 30 fantasy points. Might be looking to go back to back. Cam Johnson in play. Jalen Smith in play. I'd stick with the starters. I think these guys are strong plays on both sites. The price are a little bit different site to site. Chris Paul at 7.3 on DK stands out. Bridges at 4.9 on DK stands out, but they're all in play on both sites, I think. Guys that I am prioritizing, whereas the Clippers guys, more of last guy in type plays.
Yeah, I mean, definitely going to be an interesting spot. I think it's an interesting game to take advantage of. There's also it's kind of on an island where you can make some pivots later on if you like doing that. So if you have some exposure to 2-3 guys, you can move some stuff around. AP, I don't know if maybe you mentioned Jalen Smith and Bismack Biyombo. Do you have any breakdown of how that can go? Because we saw Bismack Biyombo at 3K. He was a nice little pivot. DC talked about it on the show on Tuesday. At 1%, it got the job done. Now he's 4K. Jalen Smith is a younger guy, and Bismack got signed for the rest of the season. It wasn't like he just got a 10-day deal. He got signed today for the rest of the year. So I think there's more value to Bismack here than people might realize. And I'm going back and forth. I don't know exactly how to handle him because I don't want to play Bismack and get a dud. So what are you doing with Bismack? Because I think he could be a decent play, but I also do think there was some downside as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to center isn't a great position today, in my opinion. So it's really going to come down to does one of these power forward center eligible guys fit into the center spot, or am I playing an actual center there? The thing about him, though, he's coming off one of the most efficient Bismack Biyombo games ever. 6 of 6 from the field, 3 blocks, 2 steals, 3 assists, 6 rebounds. I mean, just a very efficient stat line for a very low usage, offensive usage player, 13% in that game against the Pelicans. So for me, I haven't ran any lineups yet. And so I don't have a firm answer. I have him shaded as a filler type play. It's really going to come down to what the rest of my build looks like. And if he's a last guy in at the center spot, not utility. And if he works, then yeah, I'm fine with it.
Hope, we talked about it a little bit with DC. So let me get your take on it. Cause we got Biyombo versus Ibaka, and that's a battle of the king of the Congo, right? I mean, you got a little narrative there as well, Hoop. So what do you think with Bismack? Because I think he is an interesting decision on this slate, because if you told me Bismack was going to get the run he got last game, I'm in. I'll just push the chips, but there is obviously some concern, and Jalen Smith had looked good before that last game, and he is their young player that they might want to groom to take Ayton's spot when Ayton possibly leaves in the offseason if they don't end up signing him back.
Yeah, I got to give our boy DC some credit. I mean, it was a name that not many people were talking about on Tuesday. And, as soon as, we got to that game, he was on it, 3K Biyombo. If you played Biyombo at 3K on Tuesday, you probably made yourself some money. So, yeah, great call by DC. I mean, now more people will be on him. Price is $1,000 more expensive. But, man, he played 30 minutes. And, if they're going to continue to give him run, they're a thin team right now. They could easily give him that minute. Do I think he's going for 40 fantasy points? Absolutely not. But on a 4-game slate, if he goes out there and gets us 28 fantasy points at 4K, we're going to be pretty damn happy. So definitely in the conversation for tournaments. Some uncertainty. We don't know how many minutes he's going to play tonight, but he looked very good. And it's not like it's just some random guy that popped up and did this. We've seen Biyombo have good fantasy games in the past.
Yeah, we definitely have. And it's definitely
Jalen Smith, though, was in constant foul trouble for whatever reason.
I think he got hurt, or he went to the locker room. He went to the locker room with an injury.
Yeah. And
I know we had 4 fouls and the injury to go with it. Yeah.
But you wouldn't be shocked if it's foul trouble again, right? I mean, it just could happen with him for sure. And also, the Clippers are willing to go small, right? They are willing to do that. I always try to think of outs of ways things could fail. And I just think it's interesting and something to think about for sure on the slate. It's a 4-gamer. And Jalen Smith is someone that I was riding out, and I thought he was a good play the other day. And I had some, but not as much as I had the past game. So curious to see how people handle it and what people do with the situation. But we don't got too much else to say here. AP, any final thoughts on this game, or do you want to move on over to the plays of the day?
No, we can. I think we did a good job covering it. Good to go.
Yep. And of course we'll have the Up the Lock show coming up after us. It'll be a little later, right? Because we got a little gap between the games. So be sure to hang out with the guys. They'll be breaking it down all for you. But Hoop, you requested to go to the plays of the day. And, I do shows with you every day, AP. I didn't want to do it, but I do shows with Hoop 4 times a week. So I got to give him this spot, that way he's not cranky to me tomorrow or something like that. But Hoop, who do we got here? Who is your play of the day?
Yeah, I had to do it. I mean, AP was just talking too highly about my guy. And, Thursday, a lot of work at PGA today. I wouldn't be able to think on the fly and come up with a backup guy. And we're going back-to-back. Mikal Bridges got the job done for us as the play of the day on Tuesday. 42 minutes, 32 fantasy points. We'll take that all day. It's a great spot for him. He's going to play as many minutes as he can handle. He's going to get the shots, open looks with Chris Paul. Bridges, back-to-back, Rich Parents play of the day.
All righty. AP, I will go last. I have a bunch of different options. I got like 3 I could pull out, I think. I'm feeling good. I think there's a bunch of ways I can go, so I can wait. We'll have you go next. Who do you got here? Who is your play of the day?
So there's a little correlation here between that play of the day, and it has to do with matchups. So Mikal Bridges, like Hoop said, when he was a play of the day, actually smashed this matchup. Yes, I'm talking about the Warriors game, and I'm going to Otto Porter, who is projected to be somewhat low owned. This dude's been hitting a ton of threes. The Pelicans just aren't as good as wings. And you know what? This dude's going to smash. Wiggins is going to smash, and the Warriors are going to get a win tonight.
All right. So I'm
there you go, man. Go.
It's okay. No,
that's for making me go second.
We can have disagreement. I'm fine with it, but I'll give you 2. I'm going to give 2 plays at the same position, or you could play both because there is some flexibility. We'll go with the first guy. We didn't really talk about him in the first game. I think Brandon Clark is a really interesting cheap option. He has probably a little more ownership than like a normal play of the day, but the next guy's definitely lower owned. But Clark is, I think, at 4.4K. He's a really good value. And on top of that, if that game blows out, I still think he gets a lot of that run and is a really good option. So like Brandon Clark, but another guy you could put in there if you want him for a cheap center. I'll give you a high price center, and we can go with J-Val, Mr. Valanciunas, or as some people like to call him, Travis Kelce, because no one has seen them in the same place at once. They look so identical. So I think that Mr. Travis Kelce, aka Valanciunas, gets the job done at center as a nice little contrarian spend-up option at 8.8K. And Hoop, we haven't talked about his FanDuel price. He's really cheap on FanDuel. Have you seen the price tag over there on Mr.
Yeah, 7.9 on FanDuel for Valanciunas. Just such a high floor, especially on FanDuel with the 3 points for the blocks and all that. I agree. Great play on both sides, but very good price on FanDuel.
Yeah, just figured I should call that out because sometimes we don't talk this FanDuel as much as we should, but it definitely is a good price tag over there. So there's 2 of them. I'll give you Brandon Clark, and then I'll give you Valanciunas. You pick which one you want at center, or maybe you just play both. You play a center and a forward, and you can run back the guys that Hoop and AP got. But that'll wrap it up for us. Not too much else to say here. We got the final countdown coming up in about 45 minutes. We'll have the core plays updated. We'll be in the Discord chat. We'll be breaking it all down, and don't go anywhere. Sign up at Run Pure Sports right now because we have all the content that you need for this weekend. We got all the NFL content. We got everything leading you up to lock in. We got the Wood Show on Sunday. We have it all here at Run Pure Sports, so don't miss out on that. But for me, Mangone, AP, and Hoop, we will see you guys later.